Hello, everyone. My name is David Grady, and I'm with the State Council on Developmental Disabilities for the Central Coast region. I'm here today with Paul Mansell. Paul, welcome. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm having a great time here. Uh, my name is Paul Mansell. I'm in year 4 of my self-determination plan, and it's been an exciting road for me. I'm also a member of San Diego People First and a member of the statewide self-advocacy network.
Thanks, Paul. So today we're going to be informing families and individuals interested in self-determination how to navigate the service system. There's been a lot of word of mouth discussion about the complexity of self-determination and moving from the traditional service system into self-determination. And we're going to go over how a family and an individual can find support. Many people hear that moving from traditional services into self-determination, transitioning, is complicated. Paul, what are some of the complications you've run into while being in self-determination for 4 years?
The hardest by far is dealing with a business office. They didn't have a dedicated person to handle paperwork that goes to the business office. They basically had a whole bunch of other things to deal with. And when they had time, they would get to the self-determination stuff.
Right. And that led to delays in getting your invoices processed, delays in payroll, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what we've heard through the system, that this has been somewhat problematic. Slowly and surely, things are correcting themselves. But it's important to understand that moving into self-determination is complicated. It takes time. It is not like your original IPP meeting that could be done maybe in an afternoon or a couple of meetings. This one requires a 5-step process. And even going through the process, there's other things that need to be considered when working with Regional Center to move into self-determination. So along with some of the systemic issues, just from going from a traditional service to self-determination, there are other complicating factors that are in existence in today's world. One, of course, is the workforce shortage that's being experienced throughout the system due to the pandemic. And then other needs, particularly just the invoicing procedures that are different among the regional centers, the need to encumber and disencumber and re-encumber funds when moving budget and spending plan assets from one category to the next. These all have a factor and all contribute to the complexity of the system and delays in getting services. Computer. So as we said, the purpose of today's video here is to help families and individuals navigate through the system to get into self-determination. Paul, what are some of the supports and services you've relied upon to get active in self-determination?
Fine. I worked for the Regional Center 21 years, and I've been involved in self-determination since the original pilot days. And from that, I knew who my FMS would be, and I also knew who my PCP writer would be. Also, when we got services to find my house cleaner, I looked up Angie List and was able to find someone through that.
Oh, wonderful. So having worked at self-determination and having worked at Regional Center and knowing about self-determination since its original days when the pilot started over 20 years ago, you really knew how to navigate the system, particularly through your Regional Center.
Sure did.
And that's what we hope that we can do today, is help families become experts in navigating the system. The first place I recommend individuals and families to go to when learning about self-determination is the Department of Developmental Services website. That site is located here at dds.ca.gov, and you can see it has a list of information that's important for those who have services through the regional centers, including the self-determination program tab. When you click on this tab, you get a more detailed overview of self-determination. Important on these tabs, of course, are all these informational sites, but the frequently asked questions is very helpful in that these are answered by the Department of Developmental Services. The answers in frequently asked questions are official because they come from the department. Another resource that's important is working with the self-determination program ombudsperson. This individual works at the Department of Developmental Services and can be through phone call or email. You can review with them specifics to your case as you receive SDP services. Once you've learned how to navigate the Department of Developmental Services website to learn information about self-determination, be sure to check out your regional center's website. All regional centers throughout the state have dedicated links to information about self-determination. Go to those websites and learn how each regional center is utilizing and implementing self-determination. You will find when working with regional centers that when enrolling in self-determination, the first step of the process is to begin communication with your service coordinator. Paul, tell me, how has your service coordinator been to work with?
Great. I made it a priority to build a team. So my FMS service coordinator and I are very tight.
Wonderful. A lot of service coordinators are just learning about self-determination. It's a bit different from the traditional model of services, and so there's a steep learning curve for them to understand and help families move into self-determination. If that becomes a problem, State Council recommends you go up the chain of command. That is, speak with the service coordinator's manager, their unit manager. And if still encountering problems, move it up to the director of program services. There's an important position at all regional centers known as participant choice specialists. Paul, have you met your participant choice specialist at your regional center?
When I was working for regional center, I was in the self-determination, so I knew all of them.
Wonderful. So you will see under frequently asked questions, there is a tab here that talks about participant choice specialists, and it gives an overview of the role they play. If encountering problems with your service coordinator during the IPP process, ask that the service coordinator consult with the participant choice specialist to find out what the appropriate procedure would be to move on to the next step of the process. In the legislation that was passed to create self-determination, there was regulations associated with every regional center forming a self-determination advisory committee or local advisory committee as they have become being known. Paul, you said you attend those local advisory committee meetings.
Right. So in some meeting, I know one meeting in particular, I read a statement about my experience with self-determination, the pluses and the minuses.
Absolutely. And so this is your community contact. Consider becoming a member, or as Paul has done, definitely go to their meetings. Usually they're on a monthly schedule and it's a particular day of the month. Find out through your regional center when those meetings are held. One of the things that advisory committees are responsible for doing is utilizing funds allocated for the Department of Developmental Services to help build and inform the community about self-determination. Throughout California, each advisory committee has utilized these allocation funds differently, but some of those funds are going toward free coaching services. That is a consultant you can call and learn a little bit more on how to move forward in self-determination. There are videos that are made for training. Some regional centers have put together parent networks and cohorts. And there's a number of innovative ideas to promote and get the word out about self-determination. Check out those allocations. Paul, what are some of the ways that San Diego has allocated their funds?
Well, they had a conference on self-determination that was excellent. They've created videos, especially focused in on parents of young children. That's the main ways they have used their services.
Yeah, and I actually saw one of the videos that was created on the San Diego website, and it was very good. The statewide self-determination advisory committee is facilitated by the state council. This group meets quarterly and includes all the chairpersons of the advisory committees. That statewide meeting allows the chairs to bring the individual issues experienced by all the regional centers up to a statewide level to communicate them to both the regional center, both the state council and the Department of Developmental Services. When working with your advisory committee, and if wanting to get information carried forward, feel free to do public testimony to explain your circumstance and make a request of the advisory committee on how you wish them to respond. Paul, you were doing that public comment when you gave your overview. Is that right?
Yes, I wrote it. I had submitted it to the LAC, and then they asked me to read it at the meeting.
That's an example of public comment. Very good. Thanks, Paul. In the legislation for self-determination, along with DDS and the regional centers, state council has an important role in helping self-determination be successful in California. It's not a bad idea to take a look at their website and learn about self-determination. Paul, you mentioned that you have a good relationship with the state council down in San Diego. Is that true?
Yes, I do. Mary Ellen Stives and I go back years.
That's wonderful. So if you go to the state council website, you'll see as you scroll down some tabs here. And here is the Self-Determination Information Resources tab. This is an important tab to go to, and give it a second for it to load. The state council has a contract with the Department of Developmental Services to provide orientations throughout the state. These are done online, they're virtual. They're done on a weekly basis, and they're done currently in English and Spanish and Vietnamese, with the intention of more languages being included. Click on the self-determination orientation button to register for that orientation. It's a 2-hour training, and it gives you the overview of self-determination. And as many of you may know, it is the first step of the process to receive a self-determination orientation before transitioning into the program. Feel free to call the regional offices. As Paul has explained, you can speak with the regional managers there. They can offer technical support on how to work with and move forward in self-determination. One of the most important decisions an individual or family must make is whether to work with an independent facilitator, a paid person to help guide you through and provide the supports necessary to be successful in self-determination. Paul, do you have an independent facilitator?
No, I have become a certified independent facilitator for others.
Oh, wow. That's right. That is part of your plan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I would recommend people have one. I had a unique experience and skill set that let me be an independent facilitator. But I think most people should have an independent facilitator.
Good information, Paul. And the way to find an independent facilitator that I'm encouraging people to use is the California or the CASDP network.org, the California Supported Self-Determination Program Network. This is a registry page, and it is filled with good information. On here, individuals can find an independent facilitator. You can scroll down. There are 12 pages, at least last time I counted, maybe there's more. There are 14 pages of people who have registered and become independent facilitators. So this is an excellent resource to interview, to meet with, and contact independent facilitators to help you through the process. Also, on this site, you will see they have a tab for regional centers, the principles of self-determination, and then over here, let's see, service. I've neglected to just point this out. A tab for service providers. These are organizations that have registered on the network who are ready to offer supports and services to individuals in self-determination through the self-determination model. Paul, are you registered on this page?
Yeah.
A real key partner in systems navigation is the financial management service, often called the FMS. It is in the regulations that FMSs are the loan vendors for the regional center. So they become a key contact with the regional centers, as well as the employees you hire or the community resources you utilize. It's important to develop a strong relationship with these FMSs in order to speak with them about the issues that are faced as a manager of a self-determination plan. They can offer advice and consultation. They're definitely available once you are enrolled in utilizing self-determination services. But in the transition phase, prior to becoming enrolled, they can also give advice on steps to take, those sorts of things. When working with an FMS, be sure to discuss their intake procedures, if there's any waiting times before having a case open, their general or average turnaround times to process an invoice, complications they may run into with payroll, and other issues that may be affecting their ability to deliver service. Have those conversations be open and be more of a problem-solving sort of conversation where you can say, if such and such occurs, how can that problem be solved? Paul, you say you have a really good relationship with your FMS.
Yeah, I have a fantastic relationship. I email them and my service coordinator weekly and give them updates. My FMS it constantly challenges me to think outside the box and be more creative with my plan.
That's wonderful. Good to hear. And I think that key information that you shared here is that weekly communication. Establish that relationship with your FMS. Thank you, Paul. So throughout this presentation, you've seen how we've kind of taken a top-down approach on how to get support and services to navigate into self-determination services. We've gone from the Department of Developmental Services to the regional centers, to the advisory committees, to the state council, and then to independent facilitators. This slide talks about advocate organizations that are out there to support and assist families, particularly a statewide organization known as Disability Voices United, has become a strong advocate organization for self-determination. They have a frequent SD Connect meeting where it's a roundtable discussion for anybody to participate and learn about self-determination. Other places to get advocacy are whatever is available through local resources or word of mouth or information found on Facebook and social media. Paul, do you participate in Disability Voices United?
Yeah, yeah, I attend their meetings.
Do you? And what's the last meeting you attended? Do you
The
recall?
last one, it was in December, before they took a break.
That's right. They're taking a break now. I think they were talking about some of the accomplishments they had over the year. Is that true?
They had that wonderful conference.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They do a yearly, or they had a bi-yearly conference just recently. Yes,
And they were leaders in legislation.
absolutely. So this is a very helpful website to utilize and learn more about self-determination. So, Paul, you've been in the system for 4 years. You've utilized self-determination funds to become an independent facilitator. What can you recommend to individuals and families who want to move into self-determination?
Build a team, get good communication, and harness the knowledge of the service coordinator and the FMS and your IF, and you can build a great plan.
Paul, good work. Thank you so much for being a part of today's presentation.
Thank you.